4, text 18. Chapter 4, text 18, page 241. Word by word. Karmani akarma yaha pashyet akarmani cha karma yaha saha buddhiman manusyeshu saha yuktaha kritsna karma krit karmanya karma yaha pashyed akarmani cha karma yaha saha buddhiman manusyeshu sayuktaha kritsna karma krit karmanya karma yaha pashyed akarmani cha karma yaha saha buddhiman manusyeshu sayuktaha kritsna karma krit karmanya karma yaha pashyed akarmani cha karma yaha sabuddhiman manusyeshu sayuktaha kritsna karma krit. Chapter 4, text 18. We'll decide one more time. Karmanya karma yaha pashyed akarmani cha karma yaha saha buddhiman manusyeshu sayuktaha kritsna karma krit. Translation. One who sees inaction in action and action in inaction is intelligent among men, and he is in the transcendental position, although engaged in all sorts of activities.
Purport.
A person acting in Krishna consciousness is naturally free from the bonds of karma. His activities are all performed for Krishna. Therefore, he does not enjoy or suffer any of the effects of work. Consequently, he is intelligent in human society, even though he is engaged in all sorts of activities for Krishna. Akarma means without reaction to work. The impersonalist ceases free to activities out of fear, so that the resultant action may not be a stumbling block on the path of self-realization. But the personalist knows rightly his position as the eternal servitor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, he engages himself in the activities of Krishna consciousness because everything is done for Krishna. He enjoys only transcendental happiness in the discharge of this service.
So the jnanis, down a little bit, down. The jnanis or the impersonalists, they understand how karma binds one to this material world. Karma means action, and for every action on the material plane, there's a reaction. So they understand this. Can this be down a little slightly? And because they understand it, they don't want to incur karma by their activities. So they try to stop acting, try to give up all activities. But they're not aware that there are such things as activities which are not material activities. There are spiritual activities. And they completely have not understood this. Many of the persons who've come from the East, India, and they've taught this type of philosophy, and people try to give up actions. They try to become silent without speaking any words, without thinking any thoughts, without performing any activities. But this is not possible. Actually, this impersonal proposal is an impossible task. It's like a little child. If a child is playing with matches, that's dangerous for the child. So, if we take away the matches, that's nice. At least the child won't burn itself, but the child may cry because he wants something to engage him. So the best idea is to take away the matches and give him something that will engage him and at the same time not be harmful. That's the process of Krishna consciousness, is to engage the living entities in activities that are not binding, that are not harmful. Society also wants to engage its citizens in positive activities, in beneficial activities. It doesn't tell the citizens to do nothing. No, be active. Travel, have festivals, work, create business, do whatever you like, have children, have organizations. It encourages everything, but make sure that they're favorable to the government. The government doesn't want people to do things that are against the law. So this karma, there are different types of karma. There is, as described here, there's karma, akarma, vikarma. Karma means actions according to the law. In other words, you can perform them, they're good, but they still have reactions. But the reactions are good. Good in the sense that materially good. Materially good, however, reaction is not necessarily good for the spiritual person, for the soul himself. Materially good means he's still bound up. It's like someone who's in prison. He may be moved to a good cell. A good cell would be considered, it has a window, and it's a little cleaner than the other cells. But a good cell, even in a good prison, is not desirable for an intelligent person. He wants to get out. He wants full freedom and full access to the opportunities that await him outside. So in the same way, an intelligent person knows that living in the material world, this needs to go down a little bit, this volume. Living in the material world in any capacity is not beneficial. So he makes plans to get free from the material world altogether, and not just into some kind of oblivion or void, but to the higher realm of the spiritual. So that's akarma. Akarma means activity which is not attached to results, material results. It has no material reactions. So, in that way, if one performs such activity, Krishna consciousness, even though it may appear to be like other activities that people are performing, because the consciousness is different, it has a different result. A person who builds a wall in the service of Krishna, in devotional service, the result is he becomes purified and eligible to go back to the spiritual world. But a person who builds the wall for some material purpose, either for his own personal use or for a altruistic use, still he's bound up by that activity, and he has to stay in the material world to enjoy or suffer the results. So that's karma and akarma. And vikarma means activities which are against the law. If I build a wall illegally in someone else's property, then I have to be punished for that. So this is how one should learn the law, the art of performing actions. It depends on the consciousness. If the consciousness becomes elevated, then all the activities are wonderful. He can do wonderful things. He can build temples, he can fly to any place in the world, or even he can go to other planets. Sometimes people asked the devotees, why you use jet airplanes if you're against material things? They think that jet airplanes are all material, and they think that going somewhere is material in this world. But there's another type of jet airplane that's used for taking a devotee to some location for service. That's a spiritual usage. So during that time that the devotee is using that jet airplane, it's become spiritual. Because it's engaged, just like Garuda. Garuda is engaged in carrying Lord Krishna. And Garuda is considered a great devotee of the Lord because he's doing service. So everything that's done for service is spiritual. And if one's consciousness is absorbed in serving Krishna, then everything he touches, everywhere he goes, anyone he meets, anyone he speaks to, anything he eats, it all becomes spiritual. Brahmarpanam Brahmahavim. Everything becomes Brahman. This is the art of living. How to live in that consciousness. It is a great secret. When one learns how to live, everything changes. Whole life changes. One devotee was saying that as he was a new devotee and he was chanting Hare Krishna, he said, the same place that he lived, which was a squalor place in New York, which normally was run down and kind of depressing to even walk in. But he said when he was chanting Hare Krishna, everything seemed bright and beautiful and nice. The people seemed nice, everything seemed nice. So in other words, instead of trying to change the world, we just change ourselves, change our consciousness, and we'll see everything in a bright spiritual way. And that's not artificial, that's actually the way it is. Because there's no danger for a devotee. There's no danger for anyone actually. The soul is eternal. Nothing can happen to us. The body may be affected by different weapons or different elements, but the soul is not affected. If I'm driving in a car and the car becomes smashed, but I'm protected, if I have some protection, then I can get another car. So the soul has nothing to fear. There's nothing that can harm the soul. Achintyo yama dahyo yama ched shoshevacha nitya sarvakatastana archalo yama sanata. Soul is eternal, can't be cut, can't be moistened, can't be burned. So there's really nothing to worry about, there's nothing to fear. The anxiety we feel is because we're forgetting that we're eternal spirit soul, and we're thinking that we're these bodies which are quite delicate. It's like we had a cold spell last week, and many people died just by standing out in the cold for a few minutes. The body's so delicate. So we're always afraid. My body may freeze. My body may burn. My body may be cut. My body may be poisoned. But if we realize and remember that we're not this body, we're the spirit soul inside that's immortal. Hanyate hanyamane sharire. Then there's freedom. Brahmabhuta prasanatma. Shochati nakangshati. When one comes to this consciousness of realizing aham brahmasmi, I'm spiritual, then he's happy, he's joyful. So a person in Krishna consciousness is joyful in any circumstance because he's not afraid of anything, because he knows he's immortal. Everything is, as one of our god sisters would say, it's another adventure for Krishna. Performing, engaging in adventures for Krishna is just that, it's an adventure. It's not a dangerous adventure. It's a very blissful adventure. Arjuna was given a great task to fight on the battle of Kurukshetra. It was, for a lesser person, that would have been considered a horrible thing. But for Arjuna, because he was a great devotee, it was considered a very blissful adventure. Any questions on this point so far? Yes?
Switch it down.
Hare Krishna. So, in the jet plane analogy, when a devotee is using that plane, does the pilot still get benefit even though his service is unknowing?
Oh yes, that's called Agyata Sukriti. He's unknowingly piloting the plane that is being used for Krishna's service. He suddenly has been elevated to be the personal pilot for the most important activity that's going on the whole planet. When a book distributor goes out and distributes books, the person who unknowingly stops and looks at his book has suddenly become a great personality. He's become most important personality in the city. In the Shastras it says that when the demigods see the people pulling the ropes for the Rath Yatra parade, you know there's ropes. I don't think some of you have seen Rath Yatra here in Kansas City yet. Maybe someday you'll see that. There's ropes that pull the chariot. So the demigods, they're hovering in their planes above. We don't see them because we don't have good eyesight. But they're there. Why are they there? Why are they hovering above? Because it's Lord Jagannath's coming out for his tour. So they're very interested. They're lovers of Lord Jagannath. So they want to see the festival. So they're looking down, but the people that they see pulling the ropes are four-handed, like those in Vaikuntha. They're like Vaikuntha forms. So that means everybody has become transformed. At least for the time being. They're experiencing spiritual pleasure. It's like if sometimes you've had experience, you're going on Harinam, and you're chanting and you invite people to chant. They start chanting and they become uncontrollably blissful. They don't even know why. They look at each other, they say, we've never had pleasure like this. They may not know what it is, but it's something extraordinary. So by touch with Krishna, everything becomes auspicious. The pilot becomes spiritualized, the airplane becomes spiritualized. There's a saying that I worship the ground that he walks on. Someone like Jesus or some extraordinary personality, where he walks, that ground has become holy ground. When Lord Chaitanya would walk, and he did walk all over India, but many holes were created because people would take the dirt. They wanted to put the dirt on their head or take it. Because it's not ordinary dirt anymore. Now it's become holy. It's like the deity. The deity of the Lord is made of stone or wood or metal. But it's no longer metal, it's no longer stone. It's no longer wood. It's now become completely Shuddha Sattva, transcendental. Yes.
Has any scientist or any other person actually seen...
Down a little bit, just a little microphone. Seen?
The soul. Has the scientist seen the soul, or anybody else seen the soul, or do we have to just take it on faith that it exists?
We don't... Scientists are not meant to see it. They don't believe in souls. So they have, when a horse is being driven down the street, you've seen sometimes here in the plaza they have horses that are pulling people. They have blinders. The driver doesn't want them to see what's going on the side because they'll become distracted. So our modern science has put blinders on the scientists. The parameters are there's nothing beyond what we can experience with our senses. So they're not looking for the soul. How will they find the soul? They have blinders. But only those who can understand the soul are those who are a little advanced. I don't say the highest advancement because understanding the soul is the first stage, but higher stage is to see the soul and the super soul. So generally, those who are using the material paradigm, the material system, they're not going to see the soul. If they do see the soul, then that's special mercy from Krishna. But generally they're seeing matter. So we have a different process. We don't try to see the soul with a microscope or a telescope. we try to see the soul by engaging in the process of bhakti yoga. By the process of bhakti yoga, vidya vinaya sampane brahmane govihastini shuni chaiva swapake cha pandita samadarshana. By the process of bhakti yoga, one becomes a pandita, he becomes very learned, and he knows that there's a soul in every body. Every living being has a soul inside. So he understands that from Bhagavad-Gītā. It's one of the first lessons he learns. So yes, a scientist can learn the science, but he has to learn from someone who knows the science. By speculating and experimenting, he may also come to understand, but it takes many, many births, a long time. But by hearing Bhagavad-Gītā from the proper source, one can see the soul very quickly. See the soul doesn't necessarily mean see with our eyes. We don't see everything with our eyes that we know. We can perceive taste, but we don't perceive it with our eyes. We can understand an explanation, but we don't understand it with our eyes. So the eyes are not the only way to see the soul. Other questions?
What does this mean, Guru Maharaj? Seeing inaction in action and action in inaction.
Seeing action, inaction is explained as akarma. We explained akarma. It means he's performing activities, but there's no material reactions. It's all transcendental. I'll give an example. When a police car sees a person driving over the speed limit, he goes after him. The person who's driving over the speed limit is apprehended, he's given a ticket, he has to pay a penalty, so many things. Someone may say, yeah, but the police car was going faster than me. He had to catch me. Who gave him a ticket? Why didn't he get punished? He didn't get punished because he was acting on a higher principle. He's acting as a member of the law enforcement, a member of the government. So those who act on Krishna's behalf, they're not subjected to the laws. It's like a very highly honored ambassador. When he goes someplace, he's given the VIP treatment. He just posts it. He's not treated like an ordinary traveler. He's given higher respect because he's in a higher position. That higher position depends on consciousness. And the action and inaction means he's trying to do nothing, but he can't do nothing. He's still thinking, and he's still avoiding Krishna. That's one thing he is doing. He's with trying to avoid thinking of Krishna, he's performing action, and that's not good action. Shouldn't try to avoid thinking of Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So my understanding is that, I just wanted to confirm this point, is that in the heavenly planets, it means the demigods, they are performing akarma. They're not doing devotional service. Neither they're not doing vikarma. So their activities are considered akarma. Is that true?
No. If they were pure devotees, they would be doing akarma.
But they don't have any reaction for whatever they're doing. Means they're considered to be,
They're enjoying. They're not creating new karma. They're enjoying their past karma. So the karma bhumi is the earth. That's where one can create new karma.
Okay.
But the heavenly planets are a place where you can burn off your past good karma. But it's the same thing in a different way of saying. It's like, because they're using up their good karma, soon they'll be kshine punye marcha lokam vishanti. Soon they'll be coming down to the earth planet again because their stock of pious credits will be used up.
Okay. Another question. So maybe people may get a little mix up with the fine line within the difference between devotional service and akarma. If you can please explain.
There's no difference. Akarma and devotional service are the same.
Okay. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Purport?
Those who are engaged in this process are known to be without desire for personal sense gratification. The sense of eternal servitorship to Krishna makes one immune to all sorts of reactionary elements of work. End of the purport.
Yes. This was a big topic in the Bhagavad-Gītā. Arjuna was very concerned that if I perform these activities, according to society, I'll be committing an offense against my relatives and my teachers and etc. Krishna said, you won't be held responsible because you're acting under my direction. Krishna has special ability to free himself. He's never touched by any so-called sinful activity. We say so-called because it may appear to some to be sinful or improper. But it's only so-called because how can there be anything improper for him? They use the example. But yet he's dancing in the company of others' wives. Isn't that immoral? It's immoral for all the living entities except one. There's only one who can do that morally. Everyone else who tries to do it is immoral. Does that answer the question? So the question is, isn't Krishna acting immoral? Does that answer the question? Yeah, because there's one person who can do it, and it's not immoral. And everyone else who does it, it is immoral. So you're right, it's immoral, but not for everyone. Now you have to find out, your job is to find out who that one person is who can do it, who is not immoral by doing it. And if you find that person's God. Because he has a higher purpose. If we tried to do such a thing, we would have a lower purpose. Our lower purpose would be we want to enjoy our senses. But Krishna doesn't need anything external to enjoy his senses. He's Atmarama. He's Anandamaya Vyasat. He's completely on the transcendentally blissful platform. So when he dances with the gopis, it's transcendental bliss for them and for everyone. Everyone benefits. There's no material reactions, there's no karma. And similarly, not only is Krishna exempt, but even Krishna's devotees are exempt, but they don't try to imitate Krishna. They don't try to dance with the gopis. Well, my master danced with the gopis, I'll also do that. No, they don't imitate. They always remain humble servants. They never try to take the place of the master. In that way they remain free from any reactions, whatever they do. They act under the direction of Krishna, or they act under the direction of Krishna's representatives. We have our disciplic successions. The different representatives of Krishna are giving directions to their followers, and they're properly guided. Just like we know that if someone's properly educated in a particular field, let's say they're certified as a mechanic, so they can charge $150 an hour for looking at your car and fixing it. Not everyone can do that. Ordinary mechanics can charge you maybe $60 an hour. But if they say $150, you say, wait a minute, are you certified? They say, no. I say, I'm not going to pay you. So because of their training, they're very valuable, and they can charge more, and they can do so many things that others cannot do. So the highest training, the highest education that one can receive is to be educated in a Vaishnava Sampradaya. That's why you don't expect to see so many persons trying to get such high qualifications. It's so high. Some people are a little afraid. I don't know if I can take such a high education, because they're right, actually, in one sense. They're thinking on such a low level of consciousness, bodily consciousness, that this seems unattainable. How can one... I was speaking with a friend of mine from the past, and he was saying that we were talking about saintliness, and he said, there's no saints in my business, in my field of profession. And it's true. Because who's thinking to employ saintliness in one's profession? It's out of the question. Or saintliness in politics, or saintliness in education, or saintliness anywhere. But saintliness is purity. That is what's supposed to be permeating everything. That's supposed to be permeating the family, the school, educational systems, everywhere. Yes?
So as we know, there are four bona fide sampradayas: Brahma Madhava Gaudya Sampradaya, Shri Sampradaya, Kumara Sampradaya, and the Rudra Sampradaya. So my understanding is that if you practice, in the Brahma Madhava Gaudya Sampradaya, you go to, you can go to the Golok Vrindavan, where Krishna resides. You practice in the Sri Sampradaya, you can go to the Vaikuntha planets, where Lord Vishnu, resides. So I want to know, if you practice in the Kumara Sampradaya or the Rudra Sampradaya, where will that take you?
Well, they also have worship of Radha and Krishna in other Vaishnava Sampradayas. We're especially fortunate in the Brahma Sampradaya because it's prominent. And Lord Chaitanya, who is Krishna himself, has appeared in the Brahma Sampradaya, and Namo Mahabharanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namani Gaura Tishenma. He's making it very easy to enter into that platform. So that's the special attribute of the Brahma Sampradaya, is that Lord Chaitanya has appeared there. So if one is taking instruction from any Vaishnava Sampradaya, that's very good. And we would say, the members of the Brahma Sampradaya would say, and if you're worshipping, just like, for example, 6 Goswamis, 2 of them were brothers, Sanatana and Rupa. And their third brother was Anupama. And Anupama, he was worshipping Vishnu. Or Sitaram. Sitaram. So worshipping Sitaram is completely transcendental. There's not anything subordinate to it in any way. Yet still the two brothers, Rupa and Sanatana, they were telling Anupama, can't you, Rama, come and join us, worship Radha and Krishna. And they were really trying to encourage him. And he said, okay, tomorrow I'll worship Radha Krishna. And that night he said, okay, all night, I'm going to give up worshiping Sitaram. I'm not going to worship Sitaram, I'm going to worship Radha Krishna. And tomorrow I'm going to join my brothers in the joy of Radha Krishna worship. And he couldn't sleep all night, he was simply crying at the idea of trying to give up worshipping Sitaram. So the next morning he apologized, he said, I'm so sorry I couldn't do it. I couldn't sleep, I couldn't stop crying, I can't give up worshipping Sitaram. They said, no, that's your great glory. So there's no difference. It's transcendental, it's according to one's particular preference. These are very high subjects, maybe beyond our present situation. We don't have to worry about that. We have Gaurnitai here and Radha Krishna here. May not be seen yet, but yes?
Do we accumulate karmas when we are thinking in mind and we are not doing the action? For example, thinking ill or thinking...
If someone thinks transcendental thoughts, he gets the benefit. And if one thinks ill thoughts, he doesn't get the demerit.
They don't get the demerit?
No, not in Kali Yuga.
Thank you.
In other ages, they did.
Okay.
If someone thought of a sinful activity, they were held responsible for that. They're punishable, just for thinking.
Right.
But in this age, if we were held responsible for our impure thoughts, we'd all be ruined. We'd have no chance.
Right.
So in this age you have to actually perform the sinful activity. But the danger is that if you're thinking about it and dwelling on it, jayate vishaya pungsa sangateshu pujayate, sangat sanjayate kama kama krodha bijayate. The danger is by contemplating the objects of the senses one develops attachment. From such attachment lust develops, from lust anger rises. From anger, loss of memory, intelligence is lost, and one falls down. So one can fall down, that's the beginning stage of a fall down.
Yes.
So therefore we don't want to let our minds, Krishna tells Arjuna, wherever to whatever and wherever the mind wanders, bring it back and fix it on the self. Don't leave it there because you'll get attached to that.
Right. I have one more question. When I'm praying to Krishna, I'm thinking of Narsimha. When I'm praying to Narsimha, I'm thinking of Krishna. They are one or the same.
Same.
My heart knows it, but I kind of feel guilty sometimes. Or when I'm thinking of Krishna, I'm thinking of Durga. So it's kind of messy.
As long as Krishna is there, or Lord Nrsingadev is there, you're fine. We sing that song, Yato Nrsinga Parato Nrsinga, Yato Yato Yami Tato Nrsinga, Bahir Nrsingo Hridaye Nrsingo, Shringamadam Sharanam Prapadye. Nrsinga's inside, he's outside, he's here, he's there. Lord Nrsingadev is everywhere.
Okay.
He's Paramatma. It's like Krishna says, Ishvara sarvabhutanam hridesha arjuna tishtati. I'm situated in everyone's heart as super soul. And Brahma says, Paramanu chayantarastam, andantarasta paramanu chayantarastam. That the Lord is situated within the heart of every atom. So when one becomes practiced, then he sees Krishna everywhere. He sees Krishna in every atom. Like Prahlad, his father said, where's your God now? He said, he's everywhere, Father. He said, is he in this pillar? And Prahlad said, yes, Father, he's there. He was seeing him there. But Hiranyakashipu couldn't see him. So, out of his causeless mercy, Krishna came out in a form that Hiranyakashipu could see. And he was very excited because he wanted to kill Vishnu, and he thought this might be Vishnu.
I have one more question.
Yes.
So there is something called ajapajap, where your heart is remembering the Lord every minute, where your thoughts are focused on whatever way you want to see Him. But then your action and your mind, it runs away from doing the japa. I mean, once you are remembering Him, you are there, you are connected. But then the hard practice of doing the japa, you are kind of running away because of worldly, busy schedules. I know you have answered this question before, but I'm really struggling there.
Well, we keep chanting. Krishna reveals himself through the transcendental sound vibration of his holy name. Namachantamani Krishna Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Purna Shuddho Nityamukto Binadvam Nami Namino. Krishna and his name are non-different. And he reveals himself as one makes advancement in chanting. So it may be a struggle for us because we're not accustomed to meditating on transcendental sound vibrations.
Yes.
We're accustomed to thinking of everything.
Yes.
So it takes practice. Therefore we have to create. That's why we have paintings of Krishna in our home, in our temple. So that when I look here, instead of seeing some mundane scene, I see Krishna. And I play music, I hear Hare Krishna. And when I get up in the morning, I chant Hare Krishna, I have my beads. So this is all part of the practice of Bhakti Yoga, to make ourselves Premanjana Churita Bhakti Valochanena Santak Sadaiva Hridayeshu Valokayanti Yam Shama Sundaram Achinta Guna Surupam Govindamari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. One can develop this love of Krishna when his eyes are anointed with the salve of love. So as that love develops, there's different stages. And when we get to the higher stages, then we'll naturally be in love. Just like Rupa Goswami describes, when a young boy sees a young girl, love. Young girl sees a young boy, love. It's not like they need an introduction. Say, I'd like to introduce you. They don't need an introduction. They already had their introduction. So similarly, he says, just like young boys are naturally attracted, it's natural. Young boy he sees a young girl, they're attracted. Similarly, let my love for you be as attractive, like that, all attractive, automatic. Right now, we have to struggle to become attracted to Krishna. But as our hearts become purified, then it'll be automatic. Just like a child, if a little girl meets a little boy, there's no attraction. In fact, she may throw stones at him. She has no interest. But when she reaches a certain age of maturity, then there's attraction. So in our stage right now, we're in the throwing stone stage. We don't have very much attraction for Krishna right now. But if we stay on the path and mature in devotional service, and the maturation automatically occurs. Just like a child doesn't have to think, I want to mature today. I want to make sure I mature. Maturation comes automatically. Chanting, dancing, feasting, taking prasadam. If we don't engage in Krishna consciousness though, we don't mature. So you have to make sure all the food you eat is offered to Krishna. Make sure you chant your rounds every day. Make sure you follow the Regulative principles every day. Make sure you're engaged fully in devotional service. Then the maturation takes place quickly.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Krishna is seated within the soul, within the heart. He's within every atom, between every atom. Then why does he permit things that are evil to take place, like robbing a bank or eating too many rasgullas at one time?
I think I've heard this question before somewhere. Well, the perfect God allows the living entities to have free will and individuality. If he didn't do that, he wouldn't be a perfect God. He'd be an imperfect God. The imperfect persons who try to figure out how they would do things if they were God, they think, I would make it so no one does anything wrong, everyone's nice to everyone wears flowers in their hair and is nice. But they left out the part about the individual souls having their own independence. What if some soul doesn't want to have flowers in his hair? That's a shortcoming on God's part. So the real God doesn't have any shortcomings. He gives everyone free choice. That's his perfection. But along with the free choice, he makes it very clear what they should do, and he tries to give them all facilities to do the right thing. Just like good parents. Good parents do whatever they can do to give their children the best training they can, isn't it? They never say you can rob a bank, they never say you can do anything wrong. But still sometimes it happens. So that's God's perfect arrangement. And no soul that I know would trade their situation now for being an automaton, a robot. Would you like to become a robot and just do whatever you're programmed to do? No. You like to have your individuality. You like to talk your jokes. If say, okay, no more jokes for you now, Richard. When you become a robot, those jokes won't be allowed. You'd say, no, I'd rather stay. I want to be able to say those jokes. Yes.
I read something recently that you posted on in an article. You were saying how all gurus must go to the whole program. And
I didn't post that recently. That was written about 15 years ago. Somebody posted it.
Yeah, it was on Dandavat recently. But you were saying how all gurus, they must go to the full morning program. And if
that may not be possible under all circumstances.
Yeah, and
but they're at Mangalarti in their minds. They should be.
And you were saying that sometimes if they accept too many disciples, they're overwhelmed and they're not able to go. So what is this?
That's according to Shastra. If Lord Chaitanya advised one has to be careful about taking too many disciples because he may have to suffer some of the reactions. So one has to be careful, unless he's very powerful. he's very powerful, then he can withstand it. Otherwise, there's a cautionary note given by the acharyas. So one has to know what his capacity is. But that's a general. I'm not just saying for gurus. All the Vaishnavas are gurus. Vaishnava means guru. He's telling everyone to surrender to Krishna. He's guru. Charidake tarikaha Krishna upadesh. Amara gai guru hanutare desh. Wherever you go, whomever you meet, tell everyone to surrender to Krishna, to chant Hare Krishna. So they're all gurus. And Prabhupada's advice was that he wanted everyone to attend the morning program. That's the point that we're trying to make. That if we want to be exemplary, then we should make this as a priority. But there may be exceptions in cases of health situations and other. It's not that that's the general policy, that we should come. In other words, there's nothing more important than doing that in the morning. What else are you going to do at 4:30 in the morning? That's the most important thing to do. For all of us.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, in this verse it says action in inaction and inaction in action. So how about certain people, they don't perform any action at all, at the same time they are fully involved in Krishna consciousness?
How do they not perform any action? What do you mean? Give an example.
No, I thought this verse says that, let's say, a devotee may be, outsiders may seem as he's performing too much activities, but it's really not activity because it's all for Krishna consciousness. So those are all not material activities. Whereas the action in inaction, my understanding was that somebody might be just sitting as a highly elevated sadhu or sannyasi, but there is so much going on inside his mind, material thought process and so on. So it's considered as an action, even though he seems that he's not performing anything and is highly elevated. My question was that how about a case where some sadhus are really secluded, they are not really performing any outward activities, at the same time fully engaged mentally in Krishna consciousness?
Well, that's activity. To be absorbed in thinking of Krishna. Thinking is also activity. Okay. Depends on what level one is thinking. When a high court judge sits down and thinks, they pay him a huge amount of money and he gets so much respect. Someone else says, well, why don't I get paid for thinking? Because your thinking is not very high, but his thinking is very elevated. He just sits and thinks and figures everything out.
Okay. Hare Krishna.
So there's different types of activity. Thinking, feeling, willing, using the bodily senses. Manasa deho geho chokichumor arpilu tuapade nanda kishore. Manmana bhavamad bhakto. Krishna says, always think of me. That's the first instruction.
You have any questions?
You can read the next text.
Text 19. Yasha sarve samarambha kama sankalpa varjitah jnanagni dagdha karmanam tamahuhu panditam buddha. Translation. One is understood to be in full knowledge, whose every act is devoid of desire for sense gratification. He is said by sages to be a worker whose fruitive action is burned up by the fire of perfect knowledge.
His not, yes. He's totally thinking of Krishna and doing everything for Krishna's benefit. Doing exactly the way Krishna would like things to be done. Therefore there's no karma. His karmic, that is a further explanation of the verse we just read. This is explaining how his karma gets burned up by perfect knowledge, in the fire of perfect knowledge, because he knows that everything is for Krishna. Just like, for example, someone's working on behalf of the, let's say, the president. And the president says, go there, go downstairs and tell them. He may even tell them something that's not true. It's possible. The president may say, go tell them that the president has stepped out for a few minutes. So he has to do that. And he's not responsible. Even though it may be considered by some to be telling something that's not true. Krishna told Yudhisthira to say out loud that Dronacharya was slain. And Yudhisthira hesitated to do that because he had never told anything untrue. But actually there would have been no harm on Yudhisthira's part. Eventually he did do it, and there was no harm. So even if Krishna tells us to do something that, according to ordinary laws, is improper, he's the highest lawgiver, he's the highest lawmaker. So we don't have to worry about ordinary laws. Now that shouldn't be mistaken now. We shouldn't think, well, I don't have to follow the laws of the state. Krishna hasn't told me not to follow the laws of the state. In fact, I'm told by my spiritual master, we obey the laws of the state. This state is especially nice because we can chant Hare Krishna. Sometimes, for example, in the days of communism, it wasn't allowed to think of Krishna in amongst those places. So sometimes it may be advised, go there anyway and tell them about Krishna. And that's considered a higher principle. But it shouldn't be done by inexperienced persons, but by very advanced persons. They know what the Lord wants, and they know how to utilize everything in the proper way. Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavad-Gītā ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
His Holiness Danavir Goswami Maharaj ki jai.